Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang namasami. Welcome, dear friends, to this regular Wednesday evening sutta discussion at the Empty Cloud Monastery. The sutta that I have chosen for tonight is the Upakkilesā Sutta. It comes up for a very particular reason out of our reflections about Satipatthana. We've been reflecting on the Cittānupassanā, the mindful contemplation of the mind. And it has appeared to me that the states of mind, which are spoken about in that section of the Satipatthana Sutta, are mostly highlighting what would come up during formal meditation as one is approaching samadhi or trying to approach samadhi, as one would experience these different states very clearly, and the turning the attention away from the material body, bringing attention away from feeling and bringing attention towards the state of mind, in a way seems very much to support that seclusion of mind and getting a sufficient amount of stability to enter jhana. It was for that reason that I thought of looking at the Upakkilesā Sutta. Okay, so this sutta is pretty complicated. It's got a very long and very interesting framing story, which I'm going to skip over and just summarize. And in order to focus on the instruction that the Buddha gave about purifying the minor corruptions of the mind, which is very much about dealing with those factors that are the last obstacles preventing one from obtaining jhana. Okay, so to summarize the story, we get the very famous story of the monks of Kosambi. They were disputing, fighting and quarreling, continuously wounding each other with pointed words. The dispute was a minor aspect of Vinaya concerning how a person ought to straighten up the toilet after they've used it. And the actual question that they were disputing is not even one of the Vinaya rules. So they were disputing about something that's even more minor than that. The Buddha came to them and advised them to stop fighting, quarreling, and disputing. And they gave this most amazingly arrogant reply. I said, wait, sir, let the Buddha, the Lord of the Dhamma, remain passive, dwelling in blissful meditation in this life. We will be known for this fighting, quarreling, arguing, and disputing. Our alternatively, that's translated that we will take care of our own disagreement. This was said 3 times, and the Buddha then departed from that place and went into wandering. There's a very beautiful poem, selection of verses that appear also in the Dhammapada and elsewhere. Many voices shout at once, yet no one thinks they're a fool. Even as the Sangha splits, they think no better of the other. Dolts, pretending to be astute, they talk, their words out of bounds. They blab at will, their mouths agape. Not one knows what leads them on. They abuse me, they hit me, they beat me, they rob me. For those bearing such a grudge, hatred is never laid to rest. They abuse me, they hit me, they beat me, they rob me. For those bearing no such grudge, hatred is laid to rest. For never is hatred laid to rest by hate. It's laid to rest by love. This is an ancient teaching. Breakers of bones, takers of life, thieves of cattle, horses, wealth, those who plunder the nation, even they can come together. So why can't you? This situation that's described is the opposite of a situation that supports samadhi. Those monks will never be able to settle their minds in good meditation, living like that and speaking like that to each other. The Buddha then wanders on, and eventually he comes to the place where Venerable Anuruddha, Nandiya, and Kimbala were staying and living in harmony. And the lifestyle that these bhikkhus were living was in a certain way similar to the type of life that we try to live while we're together in winter retreat. It's a way of living that is almost like the ideal lifestyle for one who's gone forth and one who aspires to reach the goal of this practice. So when the Buddha arrives, they greet him. One receives his bowl and robe. One spread out a seat. One set out washer for washing his feet. The Buddha sat on the seat, spread out, and washed his feet. Then those venerables bowed and sat to one side. This formality is just exactly how it should be when there's a visiting senior bhikkhu or enlightened bhikkhu coming. This is an exact model of courtesy. And the Buddha said to Anuruddha, I hope you're keeping well, Anuruddha and friends. I hope you're all right. I hope you're having no trouble getting alms food. Actually, he addresses himself to Anuruddha, but the way that the Pali idiom works, by addressing the one who's the most senior, that includes all of the ones in the group. So elsewhere, if you see a sutta and the bhikkhu is, the Buddha is addressing bhikkhus, and you wonder why doesn't he ever give any teaching to the bhikkhunis or to the lay people? Well, if there were bhikkhunis and lay people around at that time, they were included in the speech. Okay, so they say they're keeping well, they're doing all right, they're having no trouble getting alms food. The Buddha says, I hope you're living in harmony, appreciating each other without quarreling, blending like milk and water, and regarding each other with kindly eyes. Indeed, sir, we live in harmony, as you say. But how do you live this way? In this case, sir, I think I'm so fortunate, so very fortunate to live together with spiritual companions such as these. This is how we feel when we're in a good community with good practitioners. I consistently treat these venerables with kindness by the way of body, speech, and mind, both in public and private. I think, why don't I set aside my own ideas and just go along with these venerables' ideas? And that's what I do. Though we're different in body, sir, we're one in mind, it seems to me. And the others spoke similarly. And then the Buddha said, I hope you live diligently, keen and resolute. And they said, indeed, we live diligently, but how do you live that way? In that case, sir, whoever returns first from the alms round, prepares the seats and puts out the drinking water in the rubbish bin. If there's anything left over, whoever returns last eats it if they like. Otherwise, they throw it out where there's little that grows or drop it into water that has no living creatures. Then they put away the seeds, drinking water, and rubbish and sweep the refectory. If someone sees that the pot of water for washing, drinking, or the toilet is empty, they set it up. If he can't do it, he summons another with a wave of the hand, and they set it up by lending each other a hand to lift. But we don't break out into speech for that reason. And every 5 days, we sit together for the whole night and discuss the teachings. So it's the alternation of doing mindfully or with clear comprehension, doing the basic chores of life with the attitude of kindness and mutual assistance. And then speaking about the Dhamma from time to time. In this case, they give every 5 days. We speak about the Dhamma. So they're not staying completely in silence forever, but they are discussing the Dhamma. He says, good Anuruddha and friends, as you live diligent like this, have you achieved any superhuman distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones? A comfortable meditation. In this case, he says, well, sir, while meditating, diligent, keen, and resolute, we perceive both light and vision of forms. But before long, the light and the vision of forms vanishes. We haven't worked out the basis of that. So this is the problem that I want to especially discuss with you tonight. The key terms are perceiving, light, and the vision of forms. perceiving the light is referring to the luminous experience that can come up either during access concentration or within the jhana. The vision of forms refers to the divine eye. For example, being able to perceive one previous birth, or being able to see things that are far away, being able to see forms that are how beings are reborn according to their karma. And I'm not going to focus on this second aspect. This was a quality that Anuruddha was well known and famous for developing. But most meditators don't. Only a small number of meditators directly have those kinds of experiences in meditation. But many meditators, or most meditators, do sometimes, when the samadhi develops, have some kind of experiences of a light. It's not a physical light. It's a mental experience that's like a light. And then when they say they haven't worked out the basis for that, the basis is in Pali, the nimitta. This gets to be very confusing because in other places in the commentary, that experience of light is called the nimitta of samadhi. So nimitta can mean both a sign by which one recognizes something that's come up into a perception, or it can also refer to a cause. In this case, it seems that penetrating the sign is penetrating the cause of why the experience of light is arising, and then why that experience is either stabilized or not. And that reminds me of something else. In the refrain that we've been reflecting on in the Satipatthana, they talk about for each thing that's being contemplated, observing internally, externally, and both. And then observing the origination, the disappearance, and both together. And so this is called samudaya, is the arising. Samudaya Dhamma is having the characteristic of arising. And then the Vaya Dhamma is having the characteristic of ceasing. And then Samudaya Vaya, that's having the characteristic of both arising and ceasing. But it's not just that things come and go. That's pointed to in the Satipatthana. It's within the idea of origination is the idea that things originate because of a cause. So when you see origination, you see the cause. When you see cessation, you see the cause. And the sutta that we're talking about today is going into more a helpful explanation about what is the cause, why the experience of light is arising and disappearing. Um, This sutta here, when you see the list of the different defilements or obstructions or corruptions that are described in this list, they are somewhat refined. I'll read them off. It's spiritual doubt, lack of attention, dullness and drowsiness, fear, elation, inertia, excessive energy, deficiency of energy, longing, and the perception of diversity. What you don't find in this sutta are anger and hatred. So this sutta is apparently more deep and more profound than the five hindrances. If you look at the five hindrances, the first one is sensual craving, and the second one is hatred. And in this sutta, in a certain way, the setup story, at least, is giving a powerful illustration about hatred in the story of the monks of Kosambi. So then Anuruddha and his companions have gone well away from that. So they're beyond that. I'm going to mention one other sutta just for comparison. And this is the number 7 in the Middle-length discourses, is the simile of the cloth, or the Vatupama Sutta. And that sutta, I'll show you the list. It gives a list of really gross, horrible defilements. So in that sutta, they talk about covetousness and rampant greed, ill will, anger, grudge, scorn, spite or malice, envy, stinginess, deceit, fraud, stubbornness, rivalry, conceit, arrogance, pride, and heedlessness. So if you allow any of those states to overwhelm the mind, you will be very far from being able to enter into meditation, or to be able to enter into samadhi, to gain access concentration, or to gain jhana. If any of these terrible states have overwhelmed the mind, you can practice mindfulness. And you must practice mindfulness until you resolve and settle these terrible states of mind. And so even if a person is sitting in meditation and something really terrible has happened to them and has overwhelmed their composure and swamped their wisdom, and their mind is really churning with one of these terrible states, then I would actually recommend don't give up the cushion, but try to observe that state that's arisen, observe how it happens in the body, observe what kind of perceptions underlie those states. Interrogate yourself and see whether those perceptions are really truthful or not truthful. Examine in terms of the impermanence, non-self, and dukkha, and see whether by reframing your thinking, you would be able to emerge from those states. So you've got to do all of these things before you can get into the same ballpark with Anuruddha and his companions. So I'm going to invite looking a little more detail about this list of 11 Upakkilesas, which are the last obstructions, dangers, mistakes that can destabilize the mind and prevent you from entering into a deeper samadhi. I guess I can I'll share the screen for this part. Okay, so the Blessed One said, before my awakening, when I was still unawakened, but intent on awakening, I too perceived light and vision of forms, but before long, my light and vision of forms vanished. It occurred to me, what's the cause? What's the reason why my light and vision of forms vanish? It occurred to me, doubt arose in me, and because of that, my immersion fell away. This is what you call immersion is samadhi. Some people translate as concentration. When immersion falls away, the light and vision of forms vanish. I'll make sure that doubt will not arise again. There's many kinds of doubts that can happen in life, and even The Buddha in some ways said, like if you don't understand something, if you have a question that's a kanka, then you should, that kind of doubt is wholesome because you ask questions. If you don't know what to have for lunch, okay, that's a doubt. If you don't know how you're going to solve some kind of mundane problem, that's a doubt. But that's not really what's being referred to here. What's being referred to here is uh, uh, doubt about what's wholesome and what's not wholesome within the meditation. So if you're having meditation and you have a vision of light and you don't know if that unusual experience is good for you or not. You have heard something or read something that experiencing light, that's called a nimitta of samadhi. But when it happens to you, you don't believe that that this is really the nimitta of samadhi. You think this is just some kind of weird thing that's happening to you. And so, and you don't know how to proceed with it. So you'll be distracted by not knowing how to proceed. You might give up the object of meditation, say the theme of meditation is on the breath, and then the experience of light comes up, and then you forget about the meditation and you start pursuing about the light. So because you don't know what to do, that's the doubt. And that would definitely stop the meditation. But if you find out and learn and get coaching from a teacher who's qualified and find out how to manage those things that arise. In the other version, in the Agama version, that's the one that's preserved in the Chinese scriptures, coming from one of the other traditions outside the Pali tradition. It said that the Bodhisattva felt doubt because he wasn't sure whether he was seeing something. He might be seeing something that does not exist. So he thought that the experience of light could be a delusion. Okay, so that's the doubt. Once you become settled on that, while meditating, he said, I perceived the light and vision of forms. The light and vision of forms vanished. What's the reason? Loss of focus arose in me. That's manasikara. That's usually translated as attention. So manasikara is sometimes translated as lack of attention. The mind drifts away from the meditation. Manasikara has got a very close meaning to Chaitana. The manisa is something that's with the mind, and the kara is what you do. That's your deeds, your actions. So a mental deed or a mental karma is a volition. So that is kind of focused. So you've got the volition to remain still in meditation and to direct awareness to the domain of your meditation, and to perhaps to ignore or don't give attention to anything outside of the theme of meditation that you've chosen for that sit. But then, even when something outstanding happens, that the light arises, that you've gained possibly access concentration or something like that. And this is a really wonderful state of meditation. It's so amazing. And yet, even as amazing and wonderful as it is, the mind can still lose the focus. And it's just because it's the nature of the mind. The mind has the nature of always changing, always flickering. But then learning gradually how to make the volition and choose to learn how to stabilize the mind. And then the next factor is dullness and drowsiness. That is one of the 5 hindrances. It's again natural, especially during a long retreat, if one is spending many hours of meditation. It does seem, in a way, it's a little bit unusual in this sense, because one of the main antidotes that's recommended as to a cure for dullness and drowsiness is to bring up the perception of light. But here, the light has arisen, but the light becomes unstabilized, still because of exhaustion. But coming to any theme that uplifts and inspires the mind, even at the beginning of meditation, even before entering into concentration or entering into samadhi, reflecting about a bright, uplifting, and inspiring theme, like visualizing the Buddha, reflecting about the qualities of the Buddha, then that brings up the joy. Or reflecting about one's sila, about the inspiration we take in seeing the kindness and the generosity of beings, and realize that our behavior as well has got some of that same qualities of kindness and generosity. That sila, or virtue, is a source of making the mind happy and bright and calm. That you're not filled with remorse. Even it could be that drowsiness, it might just be secondary to physical exertion and time, and just that the body eventually needs rest. But sometimes drowsiness comes because the mind is stressful. And why is the mind stressful? It could be stressful because of remorse. It could be stressful because of afflictive emotions. It could be stressful because of all of those different things can be causes for the mind to be exhausted. But if one is the preliminary practice, don't be like the monks of Kosambi, but be like Anuruddha and his crew, having this beautiful, calm, virtuous, and loving existence, and that causes the mind to be bright, and that would help to allay or eliminate that dullness or drowsiness. It would be a proximate cause for joy to arise, and then that joyful mind is a cause for piti. Okay, so then the next one is terror arose in that. And because of that, my immersion fell away. And the Buddha gives this powerful metaphor for this terror that arose for him when he was a bodhisattva in meditation, trying to stabilize the mind. Suppose a person is traveling along a road and killers would just spring out at them from both sides. They'd feel terrified because of that. My sense of this is that actually the murderers, wisdom murders the self-delusion. And the stream entry murders the self-delusion, the clinging to rites and rituals, and murders spiritual doubt. So to whatever extent there is something within that we still are clinging to with anxiety, if we're still clinging to something that we identify as the self, I believe that it's possible in deep meditation that one can experience that those concepts are dissolving, and that can be frightening. So then the Bodhisattva then decided to be sure that neither spiritual doubt, nor loss of focus, nor dullness and drowsiness, nor terror will arise in me again. I believe that at this stage, well, obviously, what we do with our life, the choices we make, the kind of deeds that we do, will have a powerful impact on the mind and creating the circumstance for these negative states to rise up and overwhelm the mind. Even if our external behavior is good, the habitual perceptions can create the habits of the mind, that support having these negative states to arise. And so, in my opinion, the medicine, if we don't yet know how to take care of this, how to make sure it doesn't arise again, this is giving ourselves our own cognitive therapy by investigating and discovering about our perceptions and really becoming willing to abandon and let go and give up those perceptions that are supporting unwholesome states of mind, and learning how to develop and cultivate the perceptions that support the wholesome states of mind. So having the perceptions of impermanence and so forth, having a perception of the danger of greed, having a perception of the danger in aversion. Those kind of perceptions are beneficial and useful. Developing the perceptions related to loving kindness and compassion. Developing the perception of equanimity. Even developing the perception of cessation in life, seeing the things that we had, that we don't have them anymore. And learning to clearly see the things that have ceased, and to see even in the present moment, see how things are ceasing, and to be able to be comfortable, at ease with that. That's ways to change the mind so that terror doesn't overwhelm the mind during meditation. The next one is elation, excitement, exhilaration. You could say in a certain way that this would be a twin to sensual craving. So when a person who's in the habit of sensual craving sees some beautiful, delightful, pleasant thing, which is the type of thing that they love and crave for, then as soon as they see it, their mind becomes activated. And so the stillness of the mind stops, because the mind is activated, because it's getting ready to enjoy that pleasant and delightful thing for which there is some kind of craving. But then even in meditation, even when craving associated with the five senses is gone, there still can be this more subtle kind of exhilaration that comes up when the path starts to open up for us. The beauty of the vision of light starts to open up for us, or when we feel that we're making some kind of breakthrough of wisdom. And then, we feel so much joy, because we're on this wonderful path, and we feel like we're making some progress on this path. But then becoming too excited, and then it's like it's close to, it's not really greed, but it's close to greed. And now here's another fascinating metaphor. Suppose a person was looking for an entrance to a treasure trove, and all at once they've come across 5 entrances. They feel excited by that. Now, when you think of 5 entrances, what does it make you think of? The 5 senses, right? So then one is sort of slipped, in a way, like slipped backwards and slipped into some kind of sensual desire because of this. I will mention that in the Agama version, someone is looking for a treasure deposit, and they come across 5 treasure deposits when they only are looking for 1 treasure deposit. So then the opposite of this elation would be the unification, the ekaggata, or the single, what's called the single pointed of the mind. The single pointed doesn't mean that the mind has become narrow like this. The mind is still very broad, but the mind has come to be unified, that you're perceiving about a singleness. You could remember the story about the farmer who had a horse, and his neighbor said, "Oh, you're so lucky because you have a horse." And then he said, "Well, maybe." And then they said, and then he lost his horse. And then I said, "Oh, you're so unlucky because you lost your horse." And then he said, "Well, maybe." So he doesn't get excited by the positives, doesn't get excited by the negatives, but just says, maybe. But just as practicing like patient mindfulness, patient watching, the equanimous looking onward to the various highs and lows of experiences. The next hindrance or corruption, Upakkilesā, that comes along is Dutula, Bhante Sujata translated as discomfort. It's could be partly like inertia or inaction. So it's sort of like an opposite of elation. So the elation is the mind is like too active. And then with this Dutula, the mind is like paralyzed. The commentators describe it as bodily inertia, bodily distress, bodily sloth. Taking it from the meaning of discomfort, when we sit for meditation, we don't seek to be uncomfortable. We try to be in a situation that's reasonably quiet, reasonably comfortable way with the temperature, and try to arrange our body in a comfortable way. So we're not going and standing outside in the snow, or we're not standing outside in the extreme heat, exposing ourselves to pain and thinking that that's going to be the way to awakening. But at the same time, in working with the Vedana, and letting the three kinds of feelings, letting the Vedana be just the Vedana, and learning how to experience the different kinds of Vedana without having the mind proliferate into a lot of emotional reactions or a lot of proliferation of thoughts and intentions, just because some kind of feeling came up, and because there's a feeling, feel like you have to do something about it. But instead, in order to just allow a Vedana to be a Vedana, allow a feeling to be a feeling, allow a sensation to be a sensation, you got to then have the patient willingness to endure a certain amount of unpleasant Vedana in order to overcome having the mind be lose its composure or lose its concentration, lose the samadhi, lose the light because of bodily discomfort. I see that actually that Ayyā and Sujata take Dutula as a discomfort, and Ajahn Brahm takes it as inertia, or being like in a way frozen. So there's different ways to take this particular factor. In another sutta, we learned that Anuruddha overcame pain in the body by practicing the Satipatthana, practicing the 4 kinds of mindfulness meditation. So then, again, the Bodhisattva, while he's developing this, it's a progression. He says, I'll make sure that neither doubt, nor loss of focus, nor dullness and drowsiness, nor terror, nor elation, nor discomfort will arise in me again. Then he said that excessive energy arose in me. Others translate that as being overly exerted or making an excessive effort. To me, the effort, making excessive effort, fits the metaphor. Suppose a person was to grip a quail too tightly in their hands, it would die right there. So that's when one is trying too hard to control the meditation, pushing too hard, getting overwired. So this comes to having the mindfulness, having the sati, to recognize the state of mind and to see if the mind is, which direction the mind is going, and to then bring the balance. So if the mind is too energetic, to have the mindfulness to be able to recognize that state. This is coming back to the Dhammanupassana, the Cittānupassanā, the mindful contemplation of the mind, is just learning how to easily and accurately and truthfully recognize these different states of mind. And when you recognize them, it's almost automatic that then you will know what to do, how to take care of them. And then here we have a pair. The next state is overly lax energy arose in me. And because of that, my immersion fell away. And the simile is, suppose a person was to grip a quail too loosely, it would fly out of their hands. I see this happening a lot of times. Meditators may train using a specific kind of a procedure, like you're having meditation aiming to cultivate the perception of the state of mind. And so you've got that particular kind of focus. Are you meditating on the thought of loving kindness, and you have that is a particular focus, and then you try to take the particular theme that's for the sake of training, and to stay with that theme throughout whatever amount of meditation you need in order to develop the mental pattern so that one is easily able to bring up that wholesome and beneficial state whenever you want to, and very easily able to recognize the presence of those states, very easily able to recognize the absence of those states. But then after having done one's push-ups that way, then there are times when one practices what's sometimes called mind in the middle, or sometimes called a open field of awareness, where one sits for meditation and is not selecting a particular theme or object of meditation, but whatever phenomena arises to one's awareness, then you notice that phenomena and you notice the impermanence in that phenomena. That's a really refined and subtle and difficult to do. It's easier to do something when you've got a specific theme that's at least used as the anchor. But people who've been meditating for a long time then may regularly sit down and practice in that much more open way, which is a good thing. But I believe that that's when you need to be careful that you're not gripping the quail too loosely. And so that because of having awareness of the state of mind, that you would not fall into dullness, or fall into drifting, or falling into any other of these Upakkilesās, because you're not heedful, you're not practicing appamada, you're not being vigilant enough to be fully aware of what's going on in the meditation. So that should be cared for. Well, the next hindrance is abhijjhapa. This longing is not the central desire, but it's longing for higher spiritual realization. The wish for higher realization, that's a wholesome chanda. So that's a positive state. But if that wishing comes into the meditation, it can create a disturbance. So samadhi meditation is not the place to cultivate and develop the longing for higher states. The next one is called perceptions of diversity, nanattasanya. Ajahn Brahm gives an interesting description of this. He said that when you perceive the nimitta, which is a type of a light experience, it can be very simple, like a light or like the moon, or it can be a complex shape. He says the best nimittas are the most simple ones, with hardly any inside or outside. He said that when he was younger, he tried paying too much attention to investigating the nimitta, the light experience that was happening for him, trying to perceive the shape, is it round or square or long, trying to perceive like the edge of the nimitta, what's inside or what's outside the nimitta. So his mind was taking something that could be simple and making it into something complex. But the proper way to pay attention is to just attend to light. In that case, in the simplest possible way. And then the next one, the last one in this list, is excessive concentration on forms arose in me, and because of that, my immersion fell away. And we read in the commentary at the beginning of the sutta that the perception of forms is related to having visions of past lives, or beings being reborn according to their karma, or being able to see things far away, things in that nature. So there could be in meditation many kinds of enticing and fascinating forms or visions that arise. And for our purposes, this is not the time and place when you're trying to develop and stabilize the samadhi. Is not the right time to go into investigating and exploring those visions that can happen. It's quite interesting. In the Theravada tradition, the majority of the modern teachers are hesitating to teach about developing the perception of light, because it seems that a lot of meditators either could fall into a conceit, or they could fall into too much striving, making too much effort, too much longing, or too much getting carried away with this excessive reflecting on forms, and into many different kinds of dangers when they're thinking that the experience of perception of light is the theme of meditation to be developed. And I believe typically they say, like in the Mahasi method, just see the arising and falling, don't give it any special attention whatsoever. That it's merely a perception, and to return to the the noting technique. And indeed, I have heard the advice that if these experience of light arises, that if you immediately drop your meditation theme and start focusing on the light, that then you lose it as soon as you moved. But it's like the experience of light is sort of a byproduct of meditation. So keep attending to your theme of meditation as long as you can, keeping the mind just stable on the theme of meditation that you've taken up as long as you can. But it seems to me that this sutta is definitely not rejecting or criticizing the light that can arise in meditation. And so to practice in accord with the teachings of the Buddha, I think that one should not feel that they're doing something wrong if light arises during meditation, but instead, if they have memorized this sutta, they may be aware that there's all of these many different ways to take a long turn and lose it. But that arising of light, if all of these subtle disturbances of the mind can be solved and taken care of, then that arising of light can become to be stabilized. So it continues, he gave up all of these corruptions of the mind. Then, while meditating, diligent, keen, and resolute, I perceived light but did not see forms, or I saw forms but did not see light. And this went on for a whole night, a whole day, even a whole night and day. And I thought, what's the cause for this? And then it occurred to me, why don't I focus on the nimitta of the forms? When I don't focus on the nimitta of the forms, or the basis of the forms, but focus on the basis of light, then I perceive light and do not see forms. When I focus on the nimitta of the light, when I don't focus on the light, on the basis of light, but focus on the basis of forms, then I see forms but do not perceive light. So what he's just saying simply is that he realized that he has the ability to direct the mind, and in whichever direction he directs the mind, then that's what he perceives. And he doesn't perceive what he's not directing the mind towards. And this goes on for a whole night, a whole day, even a whole night and day. There's another sutta about this day and night thing. It comes up in several different places. And as by day, as by night. So the Buddha recommends that if you develop this perception of light that's meditative, light experience, that will be the same for you whether it's the middle of the day or at nighttime. But it doesn't mean that you will be confused about whether it's night or day. And then developing it further, depending on how the mind is directed. While I meditated diligent, keen, and resolute, I perceived limited light and saw limited forms. Or I perceived limitless light and saw limitless forms. And this went on for a whole day or whole night. And the reason for this, when my immersion is limited, then my vision is limited. With limited vision, I perceive limited light and see limited forms. When my immersion is limitless, then my vision is limitless. With limitless vision, I perceive limitless light and see limitless forms. And this goes on for a whole night and day. This is particularly useful to us if we're trying to understand in the Cittānupassanā Sutta and the different qualities of the mind. One of the pairs is seeing the mind which is expansive or unexpansive, or the mind which is surpassable or not surpassable. So it seems to me that these choices that can be made in practice to direct awareness towards something limited or something limitless, you can see you have this capacity. So, for example, if you were doing a kasina meditation and you took a round white disc and set it in front of you and gaze at that until you get the image of that well established in the mind, and then develop that image in the mind that you've gotten from gazing at that object. That's called a limited type of meditation. If you meditate on spreading the thought of loving kindness without restriction in all directions, in a way which is boundless, that's one type of limitless meditation. Or if you develop the meditation on emptiness, following that procedure given in the Chula Shunyata Sutta, that's a way of developing a limitless meditation. And however, all of these meditations can be beneficial. It's just how you choose to direct the mind. And he developed immersion while placing the mind and keeping it connected. That's jhana, first jhana. Without placing the mind, merely keeping it connected. That's the second jhana in the Abhidhamma system. Within the four jhanas, the vitaka and vichara are both considered part of the first jhana, but in this case, it's separated. And then it gives the aspect of the jhana with piti, rapture and without rapture, with pleasure and with equanimity. And so this is a very concise description of the key features of the jhana meditation. The Buddha said, "When I had developed immersion in these ways, the knowledge and vision arose in me. My freedom is unshakable. This is my last rebirth. Now there will be no more future lives." That's what the Buddha said. Satisfied Venerable Anuruddha approved of what the Buddha said. I think I went on a little bit too long with this, but I'll try to answer questions. And if we have to go at 9 o'clock, then you can really answer the questions later. I'm going to go on until I can briefly answer these. Okay. Here's greetings. Manal writes, Ayyā, Upakkilesā Sutta is the perception of light and vision used to describe an exemplary experience of the mind, recognizing the arising of a condition. Wouldn't recognition of any condition arising in its cessation be just as exemplary? This is asking a kind of a particular question about the experience with light and vision arising and not being stabilized. And the main, in terms of what's exemplary or not exemplary, that the stilling or stabilizing of the mind is exemplary. And having the mind be unstable and falling off is in this case a negative, because that's preventing you from gaining the fullness of samadhi. Within mindfulness, or within ideas about concentration, there's an idea of momentary concentration in which experiences are rising and falling continuously, as you say. And then you notice that continuous rapid rising and falling away of phenomena. And that's also exemplary. Here's a nice greeting from the Clear Mountain. Is terror being described in the sutta similar to some kind of disassociated state of mind? I don't think it's necessarily that. I believe that it's thinking what a disassociated state of mind. I think that terror is related to clinging to delusions and acquisitions, and selfhood, thinking are the things that we identify with, and then being afraid of losing those things, and that overcoming that fear allows one to be able to see that all of those things that we were identifying with or clinging to as acquisitions actually never belonged to us in the first place. And so it becomes not a problem. But you can't see it while the fear is dominating. Rick, when I sat to try meditation for the first time, I felt a pleasant surge of energy go up my spine. A couple of years later, while in a session, Roshi slightly corrected my head posture and I felt a similar surge of energy. What is this sensation all about? I believe that PET can be experiences like that are some of the ways that PET can be manifested. So that's the initial bliss or the initial powerful joy that arises with the entering into samadhi. And those states are wholesome as being part of samadhi, but they are also a disturbance. And quickly the mind stops desiring the excitement, and the mind begins then to settle down and go more and more towards a unification and a calmness. How does one distinguish between vision of forms and daydreams in terms of how to deal with them in meditation? Yeah, right. I think a vision of form seems to be real. And when it's a daydream, you pretty much know that it's a daydream. You know that it's a fiction even while you're in it. But the vision of forms of one who has superhuman attainments is a superhuman power that's able to see with the divine eye, which is just as real as I can see a little light in the middle of the camera, which is, I think, where the lens is or where I'm supposed to be looking, and it's real. There really is a light there. I really can see it, and the person with the divine eye can see their past lives. They're not daydreaming about it. So that's it. I find in this sutta that the vision of forms is actually not what I would even focus on at all with this teaching, because unless I happen to feel, if a person felt that they had the character or the paramis or something, that they had the potential to develop those superhuman powers, then they would have that concern. But one who doesn't have the inclination for those kinds of superhuman powers, still it's so common to experience light as a byproduct or a sign of samadhi, and so I think it's if you have the experience, sometimes I've experienced that type of meditative light in meditation, then this sutta would be a very good guideline to work with. Continuing Ryan's question regarding the described light, are there feelings associated to this? Yes, joy, pleasure, and rapture. Yes. So the accounts about the experience of light, it gets to be a little bit controversial because in the Vinaya, those are called superhuman accomplishments, which a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni is not allowed to discuss with lay people. You can't discuss them with another bhikkhu or another bhikkhuni. And it's for that reason that I don't see a lot of monks describing it. There's a description from Ajahn Chah. They would always try to sit while on Tudong. They would try to sit near a body of water because it's good to bathe before settling down for meditation for the afternoon and the night. And then while sitting in meditation, he said that if he was very, very, very still, and he's just bathed, so he's not so smelly. Okay, so if he's perfectly still, then different kinds of wild animals come out. And as long as he's perfectly still, they don't notice him and they don't run away. And so he's able to see them. But if he moves, they notice him and they run away and they won't come back for several days. And he compares that to the experience with light. And then he said, then there's some creatures in the forest that not only are they very shy, but they're extremely beautiful. And they also might come out if one is sitting perfectly still by the edge of the pond. And he said that's like the jhana. So the kind of pleasant, attentive, alert, interested state of being out in nature, wanting to observe nature, and knowing that you have to become invisible in order for that nature to display itself. That's one account that's associated. It's not a direct. There's another description that I heard from a bhikkhu who said it would be like as if you were walking down the road and you saw an angel, and you'd be like so amazed, like, wow. It would be like, so that's another a comparison, but it's also, according to the description in the Visuddhimagga, the experience with the light could be subtle and almost not noticeable. You could notice something that's like just a whiff of smoke. So it could be that there's a variety of things. I think this is all the questions, so I thank you all for your patient listening. And we can close by saying sadhu, sadhu, sadhu anumodami.